So, hello,
Yes.
Katherine.
Hello, Marius.
Welcome to Circle One Gallery. We're happy
Thank
to
you.
have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, you're a young artist. You started studying photography in Scotland, in Edinburgh College, for 2 years.
Yes.
Then you was involved in a car accident in Greece. This has left you out of the subject of photography for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And now you live in London.
Yes.
In a new, let's say, form.
Yeah.
Expressing yourself through artistic photography again.
Yes.
To be more precise, you're a punkaplegic photographer, as I can see in your page. And
yes.
Would you like to talk us about it?
Yeah. So punkaplegic came as a title of a song that my boyfriend had written when we first came together, and it's a combination of two words. It's punk and from tetraplegic, which is my condition, which means paralyzed from the shoulders down. And the reason why punk is at the front is because punk and music has always been a massive part of my life and massive part of who I am. And it's always, music is always somehow connected with photos, images, with feelings. And then the plegic is because I want to show that I am a photographer that does photography a bit differently, that sees people differently because of I'm lower down. That it's a tetraplegic photographer means that I'm a photographer that I can't use my hands, so I do everything by Photoshop by using a pen in my mouth. I have to get other people to move lights and everything. So it's a combination of me, of two things that are me, or I've made them me.
Wow. Tell me, where did it all start? What happened back in Greece? And when did it happen?
So it was 2014, and I was still studying in Scotland. And I decided to just book a flight in March, at the end of March, for 4 days, just to have a break because I had exams the next week. So I booked a flight for the 27th of March, 2014. And the flight was delayed 6 hours. So I arrived in Greece on the 28th at 2 a.m. And for the first time in my life, I decided to take a taxi instead of a bus. And I took the taxi, and the taxi driver kept turning and talking to me. I was wearing short skirt, and generally in Greece, taxi drivers are known to try and chat up girls and to not pay attention to anything else but, talk to a woman. So he kept talking to me, and he crashed into a tree. He just broke his legs, but I got stuck between the door and the front seat. So my head was stuck between the door and the seat. I wasn't sitting at the back, and I broke my neck, my two shoulders and my elbow, which breaking your neck and compressing your spinal cord means that you instantly become paralyzed and have no sensation of your body either. So I was 1 month in a coma and then spent 2 years in hospital, all in all, which is, learned a lot.
Well, but this isn't enough to stop you. I mean, you're doing photography again and again and again. You can't stop it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's photography has changed very much. It was very difficult to go back to photography, but it had to happen.
Yeah, I have to create new mechanisms of.
Yeah. Because you see people differently. Because I was always a portrait photographer. And when you're standing and when you're tall, and I am tall, you see people in the light with straight. So the light doesn't have any shadows, not a lot of shadows on somebody's face. But when you're sitting in a wheelchair, you see everyone with shadows under their eyes, a lot darker. So that's why my photography became darker.
Oh, it's amazing. And what does photography mean to you as a medium, as a means of expression?
Being somebody that's always find it difficult with words and how to explain things and because it's anything that happens in my life, and especially now without being able to use my hands, your brain is the only thing that functions 100% in your body, and photography is the only way of me expressing something that I find it hard to express, through words, and photography is something that can stay for years. And for everyone, you can see one photo and it can be something completely different. And especially because photography for a long time wasn't even considered a form of art. For me, it's painting with light and creating images. And that's, especially after the accident, photography became even more important, because the only way, when people ask me how was the coma and what was it like, I can't explain it in words, because it's the most surreal film I've ever seen and I've ever been part of. So the only way to kind of show what it was like, what kind of happens in my brain and all the emotions, is by doing it in front of a camera. And it's a lot easier for me to do, to just show my emotions there than explain every day how I feel or express every day.
So would you like to see what you are doing with us?
Yes, I would. Of course I would.
Okay, let's start. Let's start from the beginning. So here you go. This is the first picture.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, this.
You can see. What can you see right now?
It's a photo that with my face that I see as a moon.
Okay.
Multiple face. So this is. It was two things. It was first because I got inspired by I think it was a day that was like full moon, and then I started playing around with this portrait, and in my mind, because it seems like I've got multiple selves or multiple personalities, but it's not. It's the multiple ways that I have to think every day, because for me, I have to, instead of saying I want to grab and have some water, I have to think all that, because I have to tell somebody to do it. And it's like having loads of people in my head having to tell me each step, and having to think and use my brain so much more. And I have, it's for me, it's the Katherine that was before the accident and the Katherine that was born after the accident. So it's a multiple me that that speaks in my head.
Sounds perfect. In my eyes, if it could sound somehow. Well, now I can see in this specific picture, I can see a diptych, like a mirroring of oneself.
Yes.
And I also noticed the yin-yang medallion on your neck. And is it just a coincidence, or do you have
the yin-yang? Actually, it's a complete coincidence, because I hadn't actually noticed it until like when I sent you the photo. I was wearing that, and it's kind of added something. I know it was a coincidence, but it's for somehow my brain must have seen it, and that's why I created the double, this kind of portrait. I don't know, but it's a very interesting, I don't know, detail that I hadn't actually paid that much attention to.
Yeah, because it actually fits with a diptych.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Well, it's how I saw myself from when, sometimes when you're in a coma, you think you can see yourself from above. So it's like, when people say that sleep paralysis and you can kind of, you can see and you can hear everything and you can see it's kind of like that. And that's why the image, I wanted that image of myself with closed eyes and like, because it is like seeing myself from above. And it's one side is the side that was independent and free, and be able to do anything I want in life before the accident. And then the other side, which it's reborn in a body that I didn't know what it could do and what it couldn't do.
Perfect. And shall we go to the next one?
Yes.
And as I can see also, you're using naked material in your photo shootings. What does the naked body symbolize?
For me, it's so many reasons why a naked body attracts me in anything, especially in photography. The first is because, especially as a woman, a naked body is very sexualized, and and especially seeing somebody in a wheelchair naked, people get shocked even more because they don't expect somebody in a wheelchair to, I don't know, feel sexy, feel comfortable doing a naked photo shoot, being okay with your body. Because for me, it took me a very long time to be okay with this new body. So it was very important that I had to face my own fears and be in front of a camera naked and see parts of my body that I don't like seeing. And especially having to Photoshop each detail, it's even harder. So it's a naked body. It's even though I love doing male nude photography, a female body, it's, especially in a wheelchair, it's a shock, and I like shocking people. It's taboos that we have to erase and and be okay with.
So you're the main subject of your photo shootings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a massive part of it, because it was very difficult for me to face myself like that.
Well, that's a thing. I mean, that's great.
Yeah,
And the next one, bondage is freedom. That is a great paradox, but how is something like this possible?
So even though it's very difficult to feel like you've been tied up constantly, because that's what it feels like, not being able to move. Mm-hmm. But after years from my accident, I've been happier than I've ever been, and I found myself being more okay with my body, with doing what I like, and being happy in my relationship. And so, in a weird way, the bondage and the bad feeling of always feeling like somebody's like wrapped you around with a rope has weirdly made me feel more free, even though I haven't got more freedom, because I have to have somebody else doing everything for me. But it's freed my mind. It's opened parts of my mind that I never knew existed. I've connected with my body in a way that I don't think I could ever achieve it before. So it's freedom in quotes, maybe. It's my sort of freedom. It's a mind freedom.
How about the Photoshop that you are using in those photographs? I mean, how do you do it?
With the Photoshop. So I have to use a pen or a stylus, like they're called, in my mouth. And I use mainly from my phone, because to use Photoshop on a laptop using only your mouth is very difficult, because normally you have to use 2 fingers to be more precise in Photoshop. So I use 4 different applications on my phone, which allow me to do all my editing in the same way that I could do it with Photoshop. So it took me many years to achieve it. So, but it's all done with holding a pen in my mouth.
It sounds like you're well trained. I mean,
yeah. I'm trying. The anxiety levels go to another state. But it took me. I stopped doing it after the accident for a few years, because it was so frustrated from not being able to use Photoshop, because I had just spent 2 years really trying to learn Photoshop, which is something difficult that you always learn.
Yeah,
and then after the accident, it's like, nope, you have to forget everything you knew and find another way. So it's
an excellent start, though. And you're generally using black and white photography, but we can see occasionally that the red color appears in your pictures.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is there a reason for this?
Yes, it's the black and white is always attracting me. It's the only way for me that I can express the emotions I want to express. But the red is something that, first of all, it's a color that it's like a shock for people. Like red is always something, when there's something red on a photo, especially when it's the only color, you kind of get more of a feeling of fight, and a feeling of like I don't know, like strength, or like war, or something like really a strong feeling. And
tension.
It's my way of especially being an anarchist as well. Red is black and red it means a lot anyway. So it's using red. It's my way of showing that the red is how my part of me that fights every day. That I had to fight to learn how to talk, to learn how to eat. So that's why there's red, especially in this photo with the lips, because it's even to move my lips to use it. It was, it was a fight. So that's what the red represents.
That's perfect. And so, are you taking? Are you capturing all those self portraits by your own? Or
yeah, I use a camera which I connect with my phone. I use my boyfriend to move all the lights. So I tell him how to move all the lights. And then I have the phone on my lap, which I use it with moving my hand on my phone. And then I normally, especially for the self-portraits, put a timer. And, and I had to, because it's difficult to see an image just from a small phone.
yes.
But that's made me, it made me see and appreciate kind of details and all that. So it's all captured, everything is moved by somebody else where I tell them, and then I use through my phone and a camera.
Oh, special. And as I can see, and as we walk through your work, I can make a connection with the African masks and your makeup.
Yeah.
Is this like a ceremony or a ritual for you?
The first thing is that, African tribe makeup has got beautiful lines, and it's not perfect. It's the lines are not going to be perfect. And the other reason is that I realized after I actually did the photo shoot with this makeup that it was my first time that I had put myself in front of the camera, and that kind of makeup is like cover for my face so I can feel better looking at myself. So it's and you know, and you have to put a mask every day, for me at least, to, you know, to face the world. Like, I have to put a mask, meaning even for myself, not for others, a mask of being smiley all the time, even though I'm in pain. So that's why I needed makeup, and not just normal, you know, beauty makeup, but something that was imperfect with weird lines. And
This one is my favorites.
oh, thank you. It is one of my favorite as well, I have to say.
I love the look and all the colors. No, not the colors.
Shadows.
The shades, yeah, the color, yeah. It's really.
And I was in my bathroom. Weird. So that's actually done. Yeah, that's actually done in my bathroom. Might not seem it, but yes, I was in it.
I couldn't even imagine.
So on the other side, there's a toilet, which I don't put in my images.
Well, I love it. I love it. Okay, that was a good decision.
Well, yeah, because the bathroom is all white, so the light as well reflects completely differently.
So, Catherine, do you give titles to your work, or do you prefer to let them untitled?
I've never found it easy to have put titles, because when a photograph is untitled, then everyone can interpret it in their own way without having the influence of what the title says. Because when we see a title, instantly there's a, you know, we've read something that describes or the image or something. So for me, it doesn't let your mind, the other person's mind, think completely freely. That's at least for my you know, photography, because you know, it's, I don't know, and maybe because I find it so difficult with words as well. And but yeah, it's because as well, when I go to exhibitions, for some reason, I've never ever read the titles. I don't know why, but I've always just drawn to the image, and I think it's just, I tried very hard, but I wasn't me, so I've always left my work untitled.
Yeah, it somehow puts you some boundaries in your imagination.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly, yeah.
You see that.
Yeah.
And let's go to the last one, I think, for today. Yes, this one. This one is the aesthetics of this picture reminds me of an album of the cover of Club Mondo Bizarre, which is an album of the band called Punch and Stance. And they have generally used pictures of Joel Peter Witkin's work.
Okay.
And so I know that you are into music. I mean, and as you said in the beginning, you are a punkaplegic. So
music, yeah.
Does music inspire you? Do you get inspired through music?
Not consciously, but music is a massive part of my life. And, you know, music, normally you feel it through, you know, you feel the music through your feet normally. And after the accident, you know, going to a gig, yeah, I couldn't feel it on my feet, but the music was vibrating in the metal of the wheelchair. And that's where music became even bigger for me, that I thought that I will never feel the bass of music, or that feeling that you know, a gig that you feel it in your body. But because the music goes, you know, it transfers to me through the metal of the wheelchair, even though I haven't got sensation of my body. So if somebody touches my legs or arms, I won't feel that somebody's touching me. But with music, it goes through your body. And, since the accident, I've seen, I don't know, for a long time, I couldn't listen to music when I woke up for months. And that scared me massively. I could not hear it. I could not have any TV. It took me, I think, about a year to listen to music, which was because I come from a musical family and all that. And it's very emotional now, music. So I think I don't consciously think or get inspired by, listen to music and I think of, of an image, but subconsciously from lyrics and all that, it's definitely had a big influence without me actually noticing. And especially from one band that it's made a big difference after the accident. So
well, I know that you are also a big geek fan. I mean, you're
massive.
And so nothing stops you. I mean, you're back again.
Well, the one dream that I had to be on stage with, I've always had a dream that, oh my God, can you imagine being on stage with your favorite band? And after the accident, it was my favorite band, Idols, and we were in Paris, and it was the most surreal, weird time of my life where my partner arranged with the singer to lift me on stage with a wheelchair. And I got lifted there on stage in Paris. And at that moment, it was crying like constantly. But it was, it was on stage at Bataclan as well, where it was the shooting and the bombing that happened quite a few years ago in Paris, which was added even more because you knew people had died in that place. And then they lifted me, and being a wheelchair user, that you never see they lift every single person, but it's very rare you're going to see a wheelchair user, because wheelchair users, we're not allowed even in the crowd normally. We have to be in a special area, which I find wrong, but that's another story. So I thought I was still in the coma. And after that, it just gave me fight for everything, because I thought, now it's never going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And if that fucking happened, it means that, I don't know, being in a wheelchair is good. I can get on stage. So, and after that, having, I had the girl that was in a wheelchair, and she was in a wheelchair since she was she was a kid. And she said to me, oh my God, she said, I saw you on stage and I never thought I'd see that in my life. And it's like hearing that, that's all I want. It's like knowing that a wheelchair user that has been all their life, seeing that and knowing that, yes, I can fucking do it. That's all
Well, so you have music, you have photography, and then you are into it. And you're perfect in sharing with us.
No, very, but it's very difficult being in my brain. But yeah, I've struggled with being okay with my photography. So,
well, you have to keep on sharing your thoughts and your art with us.
Thank you,
This is amazing. I mean, thank you for this.
No, for me, it's like it took me a long time to be okay, to not be, because I was always criticized at college about my photography, that it's not mainstream, blah, blah. But if 10 people like it, that's all I want. If I make 10 people get shocked, that's all I want.
Then you're gonna have it. I mean, I'm sure about.
Thank you so much for I don't know. It's and especially Berlin has been it was the first country I visited that with my mom, that how we said after the accident that me and her will go somewhere one day after the accident, and it was the first country we went on our own. So it means and it was the most wheelchair accessible city I've ever been. And it's, I don't know, it's a,
Right.
it's a massive thank you.
We have, I hope we're going to have a chance to meet you.
I really hope so.
See your work and discuss about it more
Thank you so much.
In the near future.
Yes, hopefully. I really, anytime for me, Berlin is like, yep, I'm coming.
Okay. Thank you for this. And
thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Rot, Orange, Gelb, Grün, Blau, Violett, Lila, Braun,